This episode of the Hunt Fish Travel podcast is brought to you by our listeners, patrons, and friends. If you'd like information on how you can support the show, visit patreon.com/huntfishtravel.
Welcome to the Hunt Fish Travel podcast, the first and longest running female hosted hunting podcast. She's got a touch of buck fever. It's hot coffee at 5 a.m. and cold beer at 5 p.m. Soggy sandwiches and a drop time. But first, she's helping you navigate your trip of a lifetime. And now, here's your hostess, Carrie Zilka.
Welcome to the Hunt Fish Travel podcast. I am your hostess, Carrie Zilka. And I am super excited about this episode because we're talking to Erin Diegel. She is a team member at Huntress View. And if you haven't checked out Huntress View, you need to go now because they do a great job over there. They run a very active social media across all platforms. Their website is chocked full of great blog articles and just a ton of really good information. And Erin also writes for Hunting Life because we are all big fans of that website around here as well. So Erin, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Carrie. Thanks for having me.
I want to jump right into, because we are talking about hunting in Nebraska. And Nebraska is kind of a sleeper state, in my opinion. Like, everybody's like, oh, I'm going to hunt Iowa or Ohio or blah, blah, blah. But I've seen some monster whitetails come out of Nebraska. You don't live in Nebraska, correct? You live in Colorado?
Correct. Yep, I live in Colorado.
So what made you choose Nebraska for a hunt?
Well, interestingly enough, my boyfriend had leased some property in Nebraska. He was working with a friend of his, and he had never been to Nebraska in this certain area, so he wanted to check it out. So that was 3 years ago, and we started pursuing this property and whitetail hunting primarily because we have mule deer here in Colorado, so that was really more of our interest in Nebraska. And so the first season we leased, we had no success. We saw a lot of deer just for archery. It was just really difficult. And I'm actually a Colorado native and also went to University of Colorado. So Nebraska is really had for many years been somewhere I never wanted to go. But, having gone there and seeing just the amazing differences. So you have the sand hills and then you have some creek bottoms with big whitetail, and just the terrain and the beauty was just in itself unbelievable. We had some good fishing. So it was just really a great experience starting off. And it kind of worked out that I actually, my phone died and I forgot what time it was, and I ended up getting out too early from a tree stand, and I was sitting on the side of the road waiting for Eric to come pick me up, and a guy comes by and in his side-by-side, and he asked me if I was lost, and I said, no, we're just hunting over here at this property, and got just talking to him, and just absolutely one of the nicest men you will ever meet in your life. I mean, these people in Nebraska are like just salt of the earth. I mean, great people, and that's what we started to figure out as we were, kind of branching out a little bit. But anyway, he had a lot of property, and he said, you know what, I don't have any archery hunters, and I love archery hunting, so you guys can hunt here. Just come here and hunt, whatever you guys want to do. So
oh my gosh.
It
What?
was just, yeah. So we end up getting connected with like 16,000 acres of land in Nebraska. So
wow.
Needless to say, it was just one of those things, being in the right place at the right time, and again, just the graciousness of those people there. So that's kind of how Nebraska started. Yeah. So
that's super cool. What a great story of just like, I don't know, just meeting somebody really cool. That's a really cool story. Like, that doesn't happen to everybody.
No, it doesn't. And, we sat there and we ended up talking to him for like 2.5 hours. And, now we're just very connected with his family. He's got a younger daughter who I went turkey hunting with. And so it's just turned into this really, really great relationship. So it's just, it's one of those things that hunting, you think of hunting, and that is a story that comes from being a hunter. I think you just meet some really fantastic people.
You do. So. And what a great stroke of luck.
Yeah, for sure.
So Okay, living in Colorado and doing a lot of the outdoor stuff, what other states have you hunted in? Would you say Nebraska's your favorite, or it's right up there, or do you have a different state that would be your favorite?
Well, I've hunted deer in Kansas, and I've had success in Kansas. I do like Kansas, and I've hunted in Wyoming for antelope, and then in Colorado here for elk and deer. But I would have to say Nebraska is definitely one of my favorite because it's close. Like you said, it's a sleeper, and you're able to get tags for really cheap, and it has everything. So it has whitetail, it has mule deer, it has turkeys. So I really like Nebraska a lot.
That's cool. What are the non-resident tags? What do they go for?
So the doe tags, you can get 2 doe tags, and that's either species. So whitetail and mule deer for $70. So, and then you buy a habitat stamp, which I believe is $25, and then you can get a unlimited statewide archery tag. So statewide, you can hunt anywhere, even though a lot of the land in Nebraska is private, but you can hunt anywhere for $242 for a buck tag, and that's either species as well.
That is a deal for either species. That is a deal.
Yes. Yeah. So again, if you have the area, you have, and the deer, I mean, if you're willing to hunt does, anybody's going to let you on their property. I'm telling you, there are so many, there's so many does there. And so anybody is going to go, come on down.
Yeah. So. Very cool. Yeah. I've heard Nebraska really is quite the sleeper state. It's kind of been on my radar. So when I reached out to you and you were like, I just came back from this all ladies hunt in Nebraska, I was like, yes, this is great.
Yeah.
Which
highly recommend.
Tell me about this ladies hunt. How did that all come about? Because before we even get it, because I've tried to organize some ladies hunts, and for curse word's sake, it's ridiculous sometimes. So that's why I was like, good for you.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, it's been a struggle. I mean, I've been trying to do this. Really, I've been involved. I've been hunting for a little less than 5 years, and it's just been something that I've really wanted to do, is get more active and more involved with other female hunters, and it has been a challenge, there's no doubt. But I had met, I think part of the topic of the blog is like, well, where do you find women, and where do you find these people to ask? And obviously online is a huge presence, but that's, it really comes down to actually like paying the money and going. And that is a really hard thing to get people to do, I think. And so my luck really came more from a lot of our archery shops here host ladies' nights. And so meeting some of the ladies that are, in archery that, maybe are new to hunting or just don't have anyone to go with, or that's really more of where, the success can come from, because you're actually able to be in person with these gals, and you can really kind of, put the rubber to the road, so to speak. So that was a successful thing for me. And then some of the 3D archery shoots, just meeting some other women in those, that's where I met this group of gals. So, and then really, the most important thing, the best tactic is you have to ask. You have to not be afraid to go, hey, we're going here. Let's go. You want to go? And a lot of times, you just got to get it done. So.
Yeah. Very cool. You do. It is. And that is sometimes, especially like here in Wisconsin, I'm super spoiled. It's like $24 for a tag, for whitetail. You get a buck and a doe tag. Yeah, it's crazy cheap. So sometimes getting some of these gals and guys even to pay even $242, which they don't even realize how inexpensive that is. Getting them to pony up that money plus some travel expenses can be really tough. So good for you. How many girls did you have, or how many ladies? I shouldn't call them girls. How many ladies did you have?
So there were 3 of us. And we were pretty much pretty diverse in our experience. I mean, I consider, well, it's kind of interesting, the dynamic change, when you go from, I still consider myself a newer hunter, I'm 5 years or less. And, we had a gal who had never harvested an animal before. And then the other gal had done some hunting, but only gun hunting. She's never harvested anything with her bow. And so it was a change in dynamic for me to go from being what I consider a newer hunter to more of a mentor. And realizing that, man, there really is some stuff that I know about tree stand hunting and whitetail hunting that, these gals don't. And so that was really rewarding for me, was to be able to kind of switch that role and help them and guide them and teach them. And of course, all the while still learning myself. So that was really awesome.
Very, very cool. So tell me, because I'm sure everybody's wondering now, who had success?
Well, I consider always we all had success, but as far as harvesting, so one of the gals was again the newbie. She actually harvested a doe, her first doe, so that was so exciting. And just I remember the time I killed my first deer, and it was just an incredible experience. And to be able to share that with her, and almost forgetting that there's a lot of emotions and a lot of things that you go through when that happens that you kind of forget, but when you watch somebody, you're like, oh, this is so cool. And I was so happy for her. And, and she even said that 2 years ago, she would have never imagined that she would be here in Nebraska, like shooting a deer with her bow. So that to me was just awesome. And then I have been hunting in Nebraska for 3 years, and the only thing that I've ever been able to come home with was a Merriam hen. And I actually tripled down on this trip. So I was so excited. I managed to get a beautiful buck, and then a doe, and then I also got a turkey with my bow. So it was
cool.
Yeah, it was unreal. I mean, it was just unreal. I mean, everything couldn't have been more perfect. It was just, the weather was perfect, and our setup and our land, and just everything was, and obviously the timing, just starting the rut, and it was a fantastic trip.
That is really, really cool. That's really cool. Everybody, I don't know. I love hunting out of state because I like exploring new places, but sometimes you just find, like, I keep going back to South Dakota, even though I want to go to all these other states. Sometimes you just find your happy place, and that's where you go.
Yeah. I've listened to a couple of your podcasts about South Dakota and turkeys, and can totally relate. So yeah, those turkeys.
It doesn't matter if it would be great to come home with one, but it doesn't matter if I do or not. I will keep going back because I just love it.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy
that's pretty much how Nebraska was.
Yeah, I'm really happy that you kind of found this like hunting happy place. Tell me,
yeah.
So you've only been hunting really for 5 years. How did you get involved, and how did you get started?
Well, I'm a city girl by birth, so I grew up in the city. I was never exposed to anything hunting. Never shot a gun, never shot a bow. I was even a vegetarian for 14 years.
What?
So hunting was, yeah.
Wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Okay, so that's a 2-part to that answer. I'm going to need to circle back to the vegetarian part, but keep going with the...
You got it. Yeah, so I just never really, I had always been an outdoors person, enjoyed camping and being in the outdoors and doing that kind of stuff, but nothing never crossed my mind. I was just one of those people that was like, well, this is where we get our meat. We go to the store, and this is where we get our food, and this is how it is. And I met my boyfriend, and one of his things was, well, hey, and I'm a golf professional, so one of the things was I would give him golf lessons and he would give me shooting lessons. And I thought, oh, okay, cool. And we started dating, and I started eating his wild game, and he's been a bow hunter for a long time and just a great outdoorsman. And so just starting to learn about his ways, and I was just so intrigued. And obviously now for me, with getting into the healthy lifestyle and caring now where my meat comes from, and I was like, I want to do this. I want to put something on my table that I'm going to eat. Like, this is going to be awesome. And it just became, I just went crazy. I mean, I'm so obsessed, and I love it so much. It's definitely the thing that I needed in my life. Like, this is it. I find so much, happiness, and, I just love it. I just love it. So I'm a pure addict for sure.
That's crazy. Like, I always hear, like, I don't know, other podcasts, Red to River Pursuits or something, and um, some of these podcasts where they like interview these people who are like, I was a hardcore vegan or vegetarian and now I'm a huntress, and I'm like, I've never talked to anybody who actually did that, and now I can say that I have. So why?
Yeah, I was actually.
Why were
Yeah,
you
I
a
was
vegetarian? I don't understand that. I love
I was
bacon
young,
too much.
so I was like 14 or 15, and I had gone to a sleepover, and we had watched some weird movie like Faces of Death or something, I think is what it was, and it was an episode on the butchering of animals, and I was appalled, and I just was disgusted, and I just thought, what in the world? Like, this is what's happening, and I just at that time, I guess, just took my kind of pre-teenager stance and was like, that's it, I'm not eating meat. And so I managed to continue that lifestyle till I was pregnant with my first child, actually. And then I was really, really iron deficient, and the doctor said, you know what, you just need to eat a big fat steak. And I was like, oh yeah, well, I don't eat steak. And then I just started kind of thinking about the health benefits, and when you're pregnant, obviously it's not anything about you, and I just wanted to do what was best. And so I said, well, I'll try it. And so I started eating meat again at that point. But yeah, so that's pretty crazy.
That is crazy. And I joke, I mean, I think everyone goes through their phases, as they're growing up, and we all just want to be healthy. So
yeah.
While I joke, I really don't have, my sister's she's like the accidental vegan every other couple years, like, so whatever, like, and that's fine, because she just wants to be healthy, which is fine.
Right.
So
yeah. Absolutely.
That's really interesting. It's really an interesting story and transition.
Yeah.
So we're glad to have you in the fold as carnivores.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to be here, man. I mean, just the community and the, again, the lifestyle and the people that I've found through hunting, it's just been awesome. So
right?
I wouldn't have it any other way. No way.
Yeah, I know. I always joke I don't have any like local friends. All of my best friends all live in other states. It's great. Just I meet them through the podcast and through ATA or whatever, these events, and it's wonderful. We have such a great community.
Yeah, it is awesome.
Just curious. I'm curious about your golfing career. Tell me a little bit about that. What is it that you do?
So I am a PGA golf professional. So that just means essentially that I am in the business of golf. So I am an assistant golf professional. I work at a course in Westminster called Legacy Ridge. And, my duties involve just kind of daily operations and running tournaments. And, really my primary passion is growing the game through player development. So teaching golf and creating programming for children and adults, and just, sharing my passion for the love of the game of golf. And so, again, kind of the same thing that I feel such a great crossover with hunting is that, both industries are in such they're just in a dire position right now for growth. And, what a great time to be a woman and to be able to, encourage people or mentor people or lead by example, or to just share, your experiences and passions for each of these things. So I see such a parallel in what I do in my career and then what I do for fun. And I love to bring new people to the game, and I love to bring new people to hunting. And so it works out and balances quite nicely.
There's a lot of similarities in something like golf and archery as far as the physicality of it. Do you find that, like, each of the different sports helps you with the other one? Does that even make sense? Am I even making any sense? Like,
oh yeah, no,
is your
you
swing
do.
more improved because you shoot archery, or vice versa?
Yeah, I think just because I've golfed for so long that I believe that archery came quite easily to me because of my golf background. I think, obviously the eye-hand coordination is a huge thing, not only for archery, but for shooting sports and guns. And, the big thing that correlates, I think, with archery and golf is, yardage and knowing distances and having that sense of, how far you are, because everything in golf for me was, especially around the greens and short game was in 10-yard increments. And that's exactly how I focus when I shoot archery is, I'm able to visualize what 10 yards looks like. And so in that respect, I feel like there is a lot of similarities.
That's an excellent point. I'm terrible at yardage. I know there's all those like games where you can toss it out and try to guess and then see if you're right or whatever. I'm just terrible at it. I would be lost without a rangefinder. Oh God, I'm terrible. I would be lost without. I could like never shoot like in Pro 3D or something like that because I'd have to use my rangefinder constantly.
Yeah, it is kind of funny because we do become dependent because you can use rangefinders now obviously in golf all the time too. So.
Right.
It is kind of a lost art, really, is because people do depend on that, and they just want to range everything. They want to know exactly how far it is. Where, back when I competed and played quite a bit, it was, it was paced off. We stepped off things, and that's how we were able to see how far it was. And so then you get a good sense when you're walking 10 yards. You start to get a good sense of what that looks like. So
that's interesting.
So yeah, maybe you just start walking off, and then you'll have a better sense.
Pick up golf. Maybe that'll help.
There you go.
Well, tell me more about what you do with Huntress View. So you're staff writer, blogger, aficionado. Tell me about your experience with them. How long have you been working with them?
Well, I've been, with them for, 3 years. It's been the total time. Kind of how it all started was, when I started getting into hunting, and I was having these really awesome experiences and these really cool stories. And I'd come home and I'd tell my non-hunting friends, and they were like, oh my gosh, that is so exciting. And that's so cool. And, I would have, I'm sure you've experienced, there's crazy things that happen, and you lose stuff and you get lost, and you just go through all of these adventures.
Thanks for that.
No, I've been there, girl. I have been there. Trust me. I am so directionally challenged. It is not even funny. So, but yeah, so they were like, oh my gosh, these are such great stories. And so I just, at that time, I'm like, what, I'm going to start writing this all down because I love to write. And so I just went out on a limb and, submitted an article to Colorado Outdoors magazine, got accepted, got it published. And I was like, this is really cool. And I kind of started, browsing around and saw Huntress View, and she had Andrea Kreider, who's the founder. She had put out a call for looking for some team members that were willing to contribute to her blog and just her website, which I just was so enamored by her, just by her mission and her theme. I was like, oh yeah, hunting from her point of view, what a cool thing. What a cool thing that I could easily contribute to and just maybe help other women, maybe get into hunting or just learn a little bit more about what it is or what kind of gear to use and that kind of stuff. I think, as I think women are such social creatures and we live for experiences and we want to know what works best for others. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. And I think, that's just such a great, just a great tool to be able to go there and see this from really a diverse group of gals. And that's where it's grown is, there's all kinds of hunters. So, we have great waterfowlers, we have big game, we have, bird hunters. And so it's just really cool to see the diversity and just to hear. I am not a waterfowl hunter. I've not ever been waterfowl hunting. So it's really fun for me to listen to the waterfowl experts talk about their things. And, so hopefully I can get out there someday and waterfowl hunt. But yeah, so that's how it started. And I just love it. Love sharing that information. And I think she does a great job with, like you said, with the platforms and just the social media and just promoting women and supporting each other. So
yes, definitely. You're right. We are social creatures. And we definitely, I swear, guys are always like, oh, I'm going to invent this. I'm going to invent that. And we're just like, can you just tell me how to do it so I can just
show me how to use it?
Like, seriously. I ain't trying to invent anything. Exactly. I'm way too busy for that. But
Exactly.
Too funny. Well, very cool. And last but not least, Hunting Life, which I've worked with in the past and stuff, and Kevin and them, they're just amazing people to work with. tell me how you got involved with them.
Really kind of the same thing. He had put out a call online for anybody who may be interested in doing some outdoor riding, and just submit an example to him. And, he got back with me right away. He's like, love to have you on board. And so, I was actually able to finally meet him in person this year at the Outdoor Retailer Show here in Denver. So that was awesome. And
seriously, one of the nicest guy you'll ever meet.
Oh,
seriously.
So cool. We just had a great time sitting there chatting, and again, a lot of the same, ideas and visions of what we want to do with, just promoting women and kids and hunting, and, just love what he does. Everything is clean. And so I've just enjoyed working with him as well. So
great. Well, I'm glad to see as a new hunter that you have made your mark in the outdoor industry with a bang. And I am really glad you decided to come on to the show, because this has been thoroughly enjoyable. Now I've got buck fever. I just did like an ice fishing episode this morning. Was like, I'm going to go buy me a new shelter. Now I'm like, I got to get me a tag for Nebraska.
Yes, you got to go to Nebraska. Lots of deer waiting for you there.
Too funny. All right, Erin. Well, why don't you tell the listeners where they can find more about you and your works, and is there a direct link on the Huntress View website where they can find you?
They can just find me on Instagram at Diegel and Twitter, and then on Facebook, of course, and then anything on the pro blog at huntinglife.com, and then at huntressview.com as well. So
excellent, absolutely excellent. All right. Well, again, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to hear more of your exciting episodes.
And that'll do it. Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a lot. You can find me on Twitter, Carrie Zylka, CarrieZylka. You can find me on Facebook. You can send me a friend request. You can follow the HuntFishTravel page on Facebook as well. Just search HuntFishTravel. I'm pretty much everywhere. Any social media. So go find me. Say hi. And if you found value in this episode, head over to iTunes or Stitcher Radio and leave me a 5-star review and a comment, if you would. Alternatively, if you'd like to support the show, you can check out my Patreon page, patreon.com/HuntFishTravel, all one word. Donate $1, you can buy me a cup of coffee. And thank you for your support.